Welcome to the Masters Grand Prix interview room. And today I've got a legend in 400 metres and 400 metre hurdles. He is the world and European champion and also break UK records along the way. So it's great to introduce veteran 55, John Tilt. So, John, how are you?
I'm fantastic, thanks, Darren. Great to speak to you this morning.
It's going to be, hopefully it'll be a great interview. So, we're going to go to the 400 metres and 400 metre hurdles. Wow, what a killer event. So what makes you want to do these events?
Basically because I wasn't fast enough at the 100 and 200. When I was younger, I used to do athletics just during the summer off no training. I was a rugby player in the winter. And I used to turn up for Guildford and do 100 and 200. And I could get down to about 11 seconds and 22.7 for the two, but in those days it just wasn't fast enough. And my coach at the time, a guy called Mark Wilson, who was a Masters athlete, persuaded me to go longer and one day introduced me to a hurdle. And I've never looked back.
Well, I have to say, it's like, I just don't know how people do the 400 and 400 hurdles, because as you know, I have done a 400 and I have done the 400 hurdles. If someone asked me which would I prefer, believe it or not, it would be the 400 hurdles.
There is something about it in that, for me, there's only ever one hurdle in the race, and that's the next one. And it breaks it down quite nicely, whether it's the 400 flat is just a long, long way.
And I totally agree, because I have more lactic in the 400 metres flat out than I would in the hurdles. And as you say, I actually concentrate on just one hurdle. So when I jump the first one, then it's the second one, and so on. And the 400 is just like, you get to 300 metres and the lactic is just awful. So we're going to talk about your training. Obviously, in the 4 hurdles, I have no stride pattern at all. It's just basically gun goes, a run. So do you have a stride pattern?
I do by luck rather than judgment. My coach, Howard Moskroff, will be the first to tell you that I'm the worst technician the hurdles he's ever seen. My strategy is be strong in between and somehow get over them. But Howard has really helped me over the years and just really conserve energy. If you hurdle badly, you waste energy. If you can hurdle moderately well, you don't waste as much energy. So that's what Howard has had me doing.
Yeah.
When I race against really good technicians, people like Howard himself and Neil Tunstall, who are really good hurdlers, it's a completely different race.
Oh, yes, definitely. So is it something you're working on, your technique more nowadays, or are you still going on for the raw strength?
I did some work before Malaga. Howard really helped me. Actually, one of the key tricks he had me do was I was getting to the first hurdle too quick. There was too much adrenaline, and I was getting there so quickly I was about half a stride out. So what Howard had me do for the first 2 hurdles was actually move to the outside of the lane. So I was running further, but it took that half a stride out. So I was hitting the hurdle at exactly the right place. And the first 2 hurdles are so crucial in establishing the tempo that I was then able to keep that up for the rest of the race. And, I credit that change that Howard gave me a few weeks before the championship with being able to break the British record and go on and win in Malaga.
Yes, I was there to witness the first British record he broke. It's actually at the Masters Grand Prix, and I was delighted. And then obviously you went on to Malaga, the World, and lowered it again in the World Championships, which is, obviously. So which was the best for you, breaking the record, or I suppose doing both, isn't it? Winning the World Championships and breaking the UK record must have been elating for you.
So for me, I'm a racer. I just love racing. I love racing people. I want the best people in my race. I want to bring out the best in me. If I get to break a record on the way, that's fantastic. I rarely set out to break records, although I'll be honest, the Masters Grand Prix that you held up at Lee Valley, that was probably one of the few times that I've actually gone out with the intention of breaking a record. But apart from that, I love running in championships. I love the heats. I love the semis. It's all about the competition for me.
Yeah, do you find you raise your game more for the championships? So when you go into your training, are you focusing on just being the best you can best? When you put all that hard work in, I want to go a little bit on your training. So is it just put the hard work in to get the best you can?
So I spent most of the winter training for the last 100 metres in the hurdles and the 400. So I do a huge amount of endurance work. And then I try and put a lot of lactic work on top of that, so that I know when I'm into that last 100 metres, whatever position I'm in, I can take on anybody in the world. So the bulk of my work is hard graft. It's hills, it's sand dunes, it's running endurance-style reps. I have a fantastic endurance coach, a guy called Tony Fern, who's been at Southampton for many, many years. And he keeps me honest with the endurance. And that I would credit most of my success to. I'm not sharp, I'm not fast, I'm the slowest out of the blocks. But for me, it's about that last 100 metres that I put the real effort into.
Well, it's interesting you should say that, John, because you're a different type of runner. Because we always say that we go short to long, but in your case, it looks like you do long to short to speed up a little bit because you're working on your strengths, which is obviously yours. Your fundamental strength is you've got all that lactic training where you've not come from the speed side, so you're working on your strengths really.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not so long ago, I was running marathon distances and any distance just to keep up that mileage during the winter. I've dropped a lot of that training. I do a lot of cycling now. So in 2018, leading up to Malaga, I went to the Alps. I was cycling Tour de France type hills.
Wow.
That builds up that sort of body strength as well as mental strength.
Well, that's brilliant. That shows how much effort and dedication you put into your results that you do get. So, in gym wise, what would you sort of do in the gym then? Do you do weight training?
So, gym's an interesting one. I'm probably of that generation that missed out on the gym in my youth. It just wasn't something that we did. And I've come to the gym relatively recently, in the last probably 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I had a guy I worked with called James Bennett who really got me into strength training. And I've been working recently with a gym in Southampton called Winning Health Solutions, who really changed my mindset about strength being so fundamental to whatever sport you do.
Yeah.
I've been changing my training to include a lot more strength training than I've ever done before.
Right. So how often do you do your track, and then how often do you do your gym?
So in the lead up to Malaga, I was in the gym 5 days a week. They weren't all high intent. I'm not averse to sitting on a mat and doing yoga stretching for a session, but I like to build routine, and going down to the gym every day, every working day, I was going down and doing squats and bench and all sorts of things. I had quite a detailed program, and I think that really helped me get through the year without injury and have a certain level of strength. I don't push big weights. I'm not a strong person. I can actually bench more than I can squat, which I know is ridiculous.
Yeah. So what sort of rep range would you do then? But bearing in mind, obviously, you're coming from a more endurance lactate event. So what sort of a rep range would you do?
I think all of them. So, I'll go for the 1, 2, 3 rep max range, as well as going up to the sort of 10s and 12s. I also it was a fellow hurdler, Ray Daniel, introduced me to the Olympic bar challenge, where you just push the thing as many times as you can until your arms drop off.
Sadistic.
200 reps on that, but that's just silly things to keep you occupied.
Well, to be honest, I think we all. I think as athletes, we always like challenges, no matter what it is. It's like if you can do as many press ups, or as somebody says, it's whatever it is, you just love that challenge. That is the athlete in us. So, as you look, do you get regular massages or physios or anything like that? Or
yes, I've been there. I have a massive on the West who I see every other week. Whether I need it or not, I just try and build that into my routine. If you go to the same masseuse regularly, then they start to understand your body very well. And Fiona will come along and she'll tell me where I'm tight and what needs working on. And that, again, has been very, very helpful. I recently qualified as a sports massage therapist myself, so I'm starting to understand my body a lot better now at 57 years old than I did when I was in it.
Well, that's good to know. Really. We all keep learning. That's what we keep saying with these interviews. Everyone, we are keep learning all the time, and that's a great thing. So, do you use any supplements at all?
I don't use protein that much. I use a bit of turmeric. Magnesium is my favourite. Either taking it or Epsom salt bath is my go-to at the moment.
Oh, do you have any ice baths?
I used to, but a friend of mine talked me out of them. Not because of the pain. I can take the pain, but he was explaining to me that if you do it too much, your body becomes accustomed to using those sort of recovery tools, whereas actually what you're trying to do is get the body to recover itself naturally. I would use them in a competition environment where you really do need to recover quickly in between rounds. But on a day-to-day basis, I now don't tend to use them. Right.
So what is your favourite hard track session?
Oh, wow. I have so many. We use Saturday as our speed session. So throughout the year, we will do a Saturday speed session. I would say probably something like 3 times 300 off 20 minutes is a lovely one, because by the time you're doing that last one, you are so far in lactic depth, you just don't know where to hide. There's something very special about lying on the track, and just knowing you'll get better, but at the moment you can't move. So that's probably up there with my favourite.
Wow. So I can't believe that's your favourite session, where 300 to me is like just awful to do, especially 3 3s. But I can see the benefits, because what we're building in a 400 metre runner is your lactic tolerance. And the only way to do that is to get in that lactic training sessions, otherwise you just don't improve. And I think that's where I got told years ago I should be a 400 metre runner. What I couldn't do, John, I couldn't do the reps of 300s with all that lactic build-up. I'd just be sick, I'd throw up, and I couldn't do the session. So I think you need to be a different type of athlete to be able to do lactic training, because it's a different level altogether. It really is.
It's that sub-maximal running. I think, having watched you run in the shorter distances, you know how to give it all in that short distance. I actually find it hard to give it all in those short distances. But running just below maximal for a longer distance, that tends to be my forte.
Yeah, your pace, right. So outside of athletics, and I think I know you're a bit of a rugby fan, is there any other sports or anything that you enjoy?
So when I was a kid, it was football. Everybody played football in those days, but then I converted to rugby, and I've always loved a part of that, the camaraderie, the changing rooms, the games. And I played that through to my nearly into my 40s. And athletics was just a sport. And then it's only when I became a master's that I went full-time training as an athlete.
Right. So how did you get into the masters, and how do you find it?
How do I find masters?
Yes.
Absolutely fantastic. My first competition was in 2002, and that was in Potsdam in Germany, near Berlin. And I turned up, and I was competing against names, to me, old names like Howard Mosgrove, and I met Neil Tunstall for the first time, Manuel Blanco from Spain, and just the buzz was fantastic. And I just loved the adrenaline and getting pumped for a big competition, something I'd never really done before.
Yeah.
And meeting friends that, back all that time ago, still in touch with, still racing. the whole experience of Masters is just a fantastic thing.
Yes, I totally agree. It was funny enough. You put something on Facebook the other day. 2011 World Champs in Sacramento. Love that, John. Never Walk Alone. The controversial tracksuit that I made from it personally was for myself only. And my good friend Rick Beardsall went out and designed that tracksuit for me. It was like we weren't allowed on the podium, but we had such great fun out there, and it was great that you shared that the other day on Facebook.
Everybody loved that. It was a game changer. It was the time that it hit changing. So.
we had such great times out there. So moving on, does anyone in the athletic inspired you along your way?
Sorry, it's breaking up again.
Yeah, is anyone that inspired you?
Lots of people inspired me. I was when I was younger, I was a big Linford Christie fan, and just when he built up and won the Olympics, then somebody like Ed Moses is the ultimate hurdler and always will be. But I think nowadays I look at Masters athletics and the people that inspire me, and you look at. I know you spoke to him recently, Stephen Peters, just a phenomenal athlete. When I travel, I share a room with Jane Porter and Carol Powell. Again, just amazing athlete. Virginia Mitchell, Tony Mitchell, Neil Tunstall, Howard Mosscroft, so many people. I count myself as being very lucky to have come in an era where I have a lot of really high caliber athletes just in the UK to race against. And, we both know Kermit Bentham very well. Just an absolute legend. And you're racing people like Kermit Bentham, Steve Bleak, Rob Grew, Mike Vassalou, all these sort of people in your own country on a regular basis. If that doesn't inspire you, then give up now.
Well, I totally agree aspiring. Because the other thing is, if you've got strength and depth in your own country, I think that's what makes you step yourself up more, because you've got that rivalry, a friendly rivalry, but when you go to a championships in the UK, you're going to be up against a good lineup, and I think that's what keeps everyone honest, to be honest with you. Keep that training and keep it all going, because if you don't, they're going to come out and beat you, and I'm sure the people who are just behind you will be thinking, I want to beat you, and their training will be, when they're absolutely flat out on the floor, can't move, they'll get off the floor, because if I want to beat them, I need to get off the floor and I need to do another rep. And that's how it goes, isn't it? You've got to put the work in. So I love that. We've got that in the sprints, and we've got it in probably most events, to be honest with you. So I believe you had a little go at discus. Is this true?
Had a little what, sorry?
A go at discus.
I've done every track distance from 100 metres to marathon, and also steeplechase. And I think I've done the one field event. I filled in for our masters team in a final one once with discus. And I respect those boys. That is a far more technical event than I ever thought. but here's the great thing. The amount of coaching I had during that was marvellous. There were these big boys who are probably twice my size, all throwing 3 times as far. But every one of them was happy to give me advice and help me with the throwing. That was actually a wonderful moment.
Yes, that's what's great about it, isn't it? No matter what, I've gone in to do different events, and I've got people always advising and coaching you, which is always brilliant. But when you do it for a bit of fun, it's quite difficult, because they're telling you to do things, you're like, I really don't know what I'm doing, I need to go away and practice. But so there, it even boggles your mind even more, I think.
Yeah. The other event I nearly tried was a great friend of mine, Derek Warren, is a pole vault specialist.
Yeah, I know Derek.
And we were down in Southampton, and my daughter had been doing a bit of pole vault, and Derek said to me, have a go, John. So I stood at the end of the runway with the pole in my hand. And then Derek took one look at me and just said, no, John, put the pole down, walk away. He said, I'm not going to risk it.
Well, and I would concur with him because you've never done it and you go into competition, you're going to ask for more problems. Yeah, you're going to probably get injured by doing it. So stick to your. You want to touch on a little bit of stretching. How do you do your stretching and mobility, flexibility?
So I like to view stretching as a completely separate session. So I'm not big into this doing it. I obviously warm up before I train and before I compete. And I warm down. But to me, stretching is a separate session. So I do that most mornings. So I'll get up and I'll do that usually before breakfast. I do a little yoga routine that I have and just try and fire up the bits of the body that I know are going to be stiff, get the back loosened, get the hip flexors, all those sort of things. So I have a routine that I can stretch from 5 minutes if I'm short of time, or I can do the same session in an hour. But I really feel that's very important, especially at our age, to keep everything mobile.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have any sort of, do you look after your diet?
I love food.
We all love food. I'm just saying, do you have to modify it or be careful what you do?
I'll be honest, I keep an eye on my weight, but I don't use weight as a defining factor. I keep an eye on it just because I'm looking for it getting out of line in either direction. I have a winter weight and a racing weight. I tend to drop a few kilos when it comes to racing. It just seems to happen naturally. I very rarely change my diet. I don't go on diets. But I would say I eat relatively healthy, but I've never met a bar of chocolate I didn't like.
Or a pint of beer.
Well, one or two.
The other thing I'm going to ask you, when you do 400 metre hurdles and 400 metre flat, do you use still race spikes or do you have a special type of spikes to run a 400 hurdles?
I've experimented with those. I wore cross-country spikes for a while because that gave me a little bit of a bounce. I tend to run with the Adidas middle distance spike, and I use them for both the 400 and the 4 hurdles. They have a little bit of cushioning in the heel, and I find that enough. It's enough for support. I've never actually had a proper sprint pair of spikes. I just use something that gives me a bit of cushioning.
Yeah, would that be more for, not for the cushioning, but also would it help protect the Achilles a little bit more?
Yes, I suppose so. I think all of us, I'll call myself a sprinter, but the Achilles is the bane of our life, isn't it? The calves and the Achilles.
Yes. And
sort of wearing racing spikes sparingly, I think. So I have a proper pair of racing spikes that I'll bring out, but I also have training spikes that just give me grip. So I'm not wearing a cross-country spike in a lot of my training.
Oh, right. So you do a lot of cross-country spikes in trainers. Do you wear actually flat trainers when you do any track work, or is it mostly in cross-country?
I'll wear racing flats, the sort of 10K type things that people wear. Depends how much grip I want. I don't like slipping. You know what it's like when you are wearing flats and you are trying to up the speed. If you're slipping on the track, then you're wasting energy. So I would put spikes on at that point.
Yeah, no, that's great advice, that, because I know different people training different spikes, so it's good. It's quite interesting that you to go cross-country spikes, doing a 400 hurdles, which are quite strange. I've always just done it in sprint spikes. I just go, I'm doing a 400 hurdles, I'll just do it in the sprint spikes, because I haven't got that range of spikes. I suppose, have you got like a bag full of spikes then?
This is how sad I am. I've just been clearing out my garage, and I do actually have a sack full of spikes. It's ridiculous.
So you don't throw them away, you just keep them?
Yeah.
So you hoard your own spikes? Oh, what you like. Have you had any tips to give any other 400 hurdler, veteran 400 hurdler? What would it be?
I'm the last person to advise on technique, but I do think it's work on it is a 400-meter race. You have to run all 400 of it. The amount of races that I've won in the last 20 meters, however bad my technique, if you can't run all the way to the line, then that's where you. I had a friend I was coaching. This was just over 400 plus. He used to want sprint starts. He wanted to do lots of block work. And I'd say to him, you're losing 5 seconds on the last 100. It doesn't matter how much block work you do, you're only going to gain about 0.1 of a second. So let's work on that last 100. And I think that's the advice I would give to anybody. Just stay strong for 10 hurdles and you'll get through it.
Yeah, no, that's great advice, because I totally agree with you. From 3 to 400, there's so much ground you can make up. And as you quite pointed out there, that they're coming out the blocks a tenth of a second, but you could probably gain half a second down the home straight from 3 to 400, which is massive, isn't it? Finishing so strong can give you a great advantage in the 400 hurdles. So do you do longer work? Do you do like 600s in training or anything?
Oh yes. In endurance phase, I will do pretty much everything up to. We occasionally do 1,000 meters. I hate that. I can't concentrate for that. But 600 is probably my optimal distance. I've got the M50 British record 100, and I think that's where my ideal would be. I race up for 800 occasionally. One of my favourite really hurting sessions is a 5-4-3-2-1. I don't know if you've come across that.
Yes.
With 5-4-3-2 recovery. And so that extra over distance, which puts you in all kinds of trouble, is really fun.
Fun for whom, John? Fun for whom? I just find it mad. I mean, as you know, I've done different events myself, so I do appreciate it. Let me tell you, I mean, they always say it's the man's event, isn't it? 400 metres, 400 hurdles. It's the killer of all events, and I personally agree. If somebody asked me which is the toughest event, I'd have to say the 400 metres. Personally, if you run it correctly, you run hard at it, then you're going to suffer. Well, actually, I've enjoyed this interview, John. Is there anything you'd else like to say? Is there anything you want to say to anything?
I just, thank you for doing these, because, getting you, of all people, have really helped build profile of Masters Athletics, and please keep it up. I love the Grand Prix, love what you're doing, I love that you fired up the change of kit, and we now have some of the best kit in the world. This is fantastic, because we've just got to keep getting the message out that, when you get to our age, you don't have to go off and do marathons in 5 hours. Come and do real athletics, and come and have the fun that we do, training all year round and competing with some of the best in the world and making some of the best friends in the world.
Exactly, and because it is a lot of fun and it is enjoyable, no matter how hard the training is, we all enjoy it. And there's so many different events out there. But it's been a privilege to have you on here, John. And I look forward to meeting you all back on the track when we finally get back there. But I believe we can train a little bit now. So it's been fabulous. You take good care of yourself, and I'll catch you soon on the track.
And you, mate. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, matey.